that's a level 1 carcinogen, right? But then
Yeah.
we're worried about canola oil, like those types of things.
Yeah,
like
seed oils.
That's another conversation that, I mean, we don't need to get into that, but those are the things, like, people are worried about the wrong stuff.
Mm-hmm. Whereas it's like you're worried about like canola oil and all these seed oils. When I'm like, dude, but like you drank you went on an all nighter like last night, like
right?
I'm
so happy to hear you say that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Raythick Singani podcast, and welcome to our first in-person podcast. So I'm really excited to get the ball rolling on this one. So for today, my fellow Yinzers, you guys are going to really love this one. So my guest today is a Pittsburgh native. He is a former D1 college soccer player, and he played for the University of Pittsburgh and for the Westchester University. He's also a former NCAA goalkeeping coach, and he is now the owner and head coach of the online fitness training program, Marshall Fitness. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Will Marshall. Will, dude, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. This is cool. Honored to be your first in-person podcast.
Dude, yeah, I'm loving it, man. So I'm going to jump right into it.
Let's hit it.
So I remember, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be wondering how we even know each other.
Well, yeah, that's
yeah, is it like, how does this person get on
random
with this
connection,
podcast?
yeah.
So I think I was scrolling on Instagram one day, as like Gen Z kids normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw your profile come up on my grid, my Explore page, and I was like, oh, this guy's like fitness content's really cool. I saw like the meat missile that you guys
that's what you saw?
That's what I saw.
That's hilarious.
It was a meat missile and the New Year's Eve, like, are you gonna be out there drinking tonight? If you do, fine, but just so you know,
yeah,
for your fitness goals might not be the best thing to do.
Sure.
And then I also saw that you also co-hosted a podcast. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, like definitely following this guy.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, man, of course, because I want to follow people who align with kind of what I'm trying to do with my own life.
Right.
And I think actually you DM'd me.
I did.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
Yeah. Actually, I was gonna actually ask you about that. Did you DM me that day just because you were feeling particularly like talkative, or do you always DM people who you deem are like, oh, like, this guy looks interesting, like, why do you follow him?
I DM everyone that follows me.
That's awesome.
And part of it is because, I mean, my Instagram and my Facebook are all created around the business. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that is my personal page, but it's an extension of the business. So, I mean, right. All the marketing is done through that. So, and actually, weirdly enough, right now on Facebook, like, I mean, depending on what goes on, your profile seems to get pushed in certain ways. So, like, Facebook right now, I'm showing up on a lot of other people's, like, people you may know. So, okay. I've gotten like 100 friend requests in the past 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Which is really weird, but I'll take it because more people are seeing my profile. And so then the same thing on Instagram. When someone follows me, it's always, hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for following. What brought you to my page? Because then I'm figuring out, are they a potential client? Are they here because they're interested in the business? Or are they just following because of the content? Or is it a networking opportunity, which is now how we ended up right here, And so no matter what, a lot of the way I run my business is top of mind marketing. So lots of conversations, just kind of being there and like being willing to have conversations with people, helping people. And I think that's the thing too, is like someone gets a DM from somebody, they don't really expect that person to be willing to hear them out and then give them just like free advice. But I've done that with a lot of people. And a lot of times people just like kind of, hit me with like a short response. They don't want to talk because they think I'm trying to sell them something. And I'm like, I mean, if they're interested in being a client, then we can have that conversation. But at the same time, I'm very willing to just like hear people out and just, kind of see where they're coming from. If there's some kind of resource I can give them. I mean, right now I have a post that's boosted. It's what to do when you're not motivated, kind of. And it was a reel I made where I was like, I'm taking out the trash. I'm not motivated to do it, but I'm still going to do it. Right. Same example. But for some reason, when there's no motivation to go to the gym, people can't do it. And it's like, well, why not? It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, yeah.
And so with that, I have it boosted. I've gained 120 followers from that. It's like a $75 ad spend. And then I'll DM those people and say, hey, thanks for being here. Here's a short video on what to do when you're not motivated. So just, saying thanks for being here. Here's some value. And then just like, if it works out, it works out.
Dude, honestly, that's like been one of the biggest lessons I've learned is that the more value you put out, especially you giving out value without an expectation of anything in return.
Yeah.
That actually is what gets you more of a following or more of just like people want to be around you? Like okay, like great, like you're a good human being, and then, like you just and what do you know? People want to follow you, people want to be around you, people want to do stuff with you. So yeah, man, absolutely. So, but I did want to ask you, kind of, you talked about you kind of mentioned your fitness business. So, what would you say separates you from a lot of other fitness influencers? Because I think what you do at Marshall Fitness is actually pretty unique.
Thank you. I mean, what separates me, I think it's. I don't know if I have anything specific. I mean, I'm sure there are specifics, but I think at the end of the day, it's just the fact that it's I am myself and I'm no one else. Like, I mean, looking at if you just compare any individual to another individual, like everyone has their own kind of like specific traits about them.
Yeah.
My background as a soccer player, like, I played at a high level for 5 years, then coached at the pro level for 2 years, and then, was involved in Division I as well. Just the fact that I've coached for so long, I think that adds a lot to it, because regardless of the theme of the coaching, if you've been coaching for a decade, like, your stuff.
Right.
And coaching's not really about the content that you're giving to people. It's really just people management when it comes down to it. Like having to know how to navigate like this person's personality versus this person's personality, while doing it in a way to where you're not necessarily, being like telling them what to do, but also helping them navigate their own path to find their way to it in a way that works for their life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's all super complex. And like, that's the stuff that actually is fun when you figure it out, but it's also the most frustrating part as well.
Interesting. So when you're training, like, let's say, like, former college athletes, because I know that's also a big demographic, like, who you coach, what would you say is, like, has your experience being a goalkeeper, like a coach in both previous positions, and how's that like transition to like kind of what you do now when coaching former college athletes?
So it's different, and I will say it's different because, thinking about like being at with a team, people are there because they want to be there, but at the same time, when it's a team, like they're not paying me to coach them. Like, we're paying them to play.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're coaching professionals, like they are there, they signed a contract, they're being paid by the club to be there. And so then if they're, not doing their job, then they're not, like they're not going to get re-signed or something, then, I mean?
They don't get paid.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so then you flip that, and with personal training, like people are paying me to coach them. So that's different, where, when you're a coach in a professional environment for a team, you have a lot more leverage, because like they have to perform to be the starter or like to win another contract, you know? And so you can, be a little bit more, you can coach a little harder in that circumstance. But when it comes to people that are paying me, I have to help them get the result that they want, but at the same time, I have to keep them happy too, because like, they are paying for the service, and so I have this side of me that likes to coach hard and just be like, hey, just, get your shit done and don't give me excuses.
Right.
But at the same time, there's people have different things going on, for me to tell the mom of 3, like, hey, no excuses, do your shit. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't say that, because like that's a legit reason to like not be able to be at the gym for 3 hours a day or something, Not saying I have people at the gym for 3 hours a day, but there's just a lot more nuance to it that you have to be aware of. Like, you have to have a lot of self-awareness, but then also awareness of what your people are doing and what they're like, and like, what their lifestyle is, and then you have to tweak everything to that.
Versus when you're an athlete, the coaches, you're getting paid, so the coaches can kind of afford to not necessarily have that nuance with you, if you know what I mean. Like because they're like, listen, like, do you want to get paid? Do you want to make it pro?
Right.
Like, what do you like? Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, then stop whining and come to practice. Yeah. Like, otherwise, with that mom of 3 example you just gave, you can't be that abrasive.
No. And I mean, in sports as well, this is changing. It was like for a long time, the kind of like the approach for a lot of coaches was like that, where it was like, it was very straight. Everyone got the same treatment. And now, just with, I think mental health becoming more prevalent as something that should be, a focus, people are starting to realize that you can't coach everybody the same way. Like, if you want something out of one, like if I'm talking about goalkeeper specifically, like if I know one goalkeeper is not going to respond to me being in their face, because goalkeeping is not it's not a position to where you can be tense and perform. So if a coach is on you all the time, and you're so concerned about making a mistake, you're going to make more mistakes. So, if I know someone's not going to respond to that, it's not going to really be productive for me or for them to be in their face yelling at them about their mistakes. But if there's somebody else that's like, they're going to perform no matter what I say, then you can afford a little bit more like variety in your responses. So there is I think there's levels to everything. And so with personal training, it is different. Not everyone has been at a high level of playing sports and is used to being like under the gun, have to perform, can't make mistakes. And so those people, you need to, maybe take a little bit more of a step back.
Yeah.
But people that have been in those situations where like, you're on the field, it's just what it is.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah,
right?
Those people get it a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into that, because I think it's an interesting area where you have these people that have come out of a very intense training regime.
Yeah.
And then they have to come out of college, and all of a sudden you're in the quote unquote real world.
Right.
And it's not all that intense. So I'm curious, when you're training for MMA athletes, like do you have to deal with like any like injuries they might have from previous sports, does that play a part in? On
occasion, more often than not, if someone has like a very like a prevalent like injury that's currently affecting them, I'll always tell them. I ask them first of all, like, are you cleared to exercise?
Okay.
If they're not, then they need to go and get it, or they need to fix whatever's going on before coming to me. Now there's certain things like if someone has like like knee pain that used to bother them, that's fine, but it just, messes with them every now and then. I've been injured a ton myself. There's certain things that I know. There's certain things that will like, hey, let's try to just like strengthen this area and see if it helps. And if it doesn't, then it's like, okay, you've got to go see somebody else. Like I never want to put myself in the position of doing what doctors do or physical therapists do. So more often than not, everyone has a little bit of something. I've got a guy right now, shout out to Joey, like he's a former tight end at Butler. He just has some like his shoulder bugs him. It's an old football injury, and never been anything that's held him back, but it's just there's awareness there of like, okay, that's if it gets worse, let's take a step back. If it doesn't, then just keep rolling with it, and we'll just see how it goes.
And that adds to more of the nuance you're talking about in training, right? It's maybe this population of clients might be more able to handle that more intense like coaching.
They know their bodies better.
But they know their bodies better. But I'm also, you tell me if I'm wrong, but if the injury is grievous, I'm sure there's this element of like, God damn, like I dealt with this kind of I had rhetoric, and I dealt with this kind of attitude from the coaches and when I was training in college, and now Will is bringing it to me again. Now, like I don't need this, and my shoulder's hurting. I'm sure like that could play a part in how they take your coaching. So that's also something you have to be aware of as well.
Yeah, believe me, I say that stuff, but there's nobody that I've ever had to be like, hey, like I don't really have to get firm with anyone ever, because again, they're with me by choice.
Good point. So
on occasion, I'll have to just kind of get a little, maybe more point blank, where it's just like, hey, like, all right, you're telling me this, but this is what I'm seeing. How are these two things? How is this getting you to there?
Right.
So it's not like sit down at this table and I'm going to stand over you and yell at you. It's more so just like matter of fact. I'm not going to just beat around the bush.
Right.
Because that's not what you're paying me to do.
Also, have you ever had instances where you had to install some competitive drive back? Because we're talking about mindset, right? So I'm sure there's a population of athletes that come out of college and they're like, they have that drive that they maintained from sports.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, tell me if I'm wrong, but I would also assume that there might be a population of athletes that come out of college and they're like, all right, like I don't have to, like, so they lose a bit of that edge. Is that something you also have to deal with in your coaching?
That, it does depend on the person for sure.
Okay.
Because really when people are working with me, the only person they can compete against is themselves, or me if they want to. But because there's no, I mean, there's a built-in community where everyone can interact with everybody else, like just through Facebook, but that's on them to do. If they want to do it, they can. If they don't, like, they're not forced to be in this like group coaching environment, because we always have a one-on-one dialogue with the client and myself. But there's some people that, you know, get back into getting fit and then they're like, okay, I want to go do a half marathon or a 5K or, you know, something where you are competing. You know, even if you don't have high expectations to win, you're still putting yourself in the like that, you know, potential of winning.
Yeah.
I'm a highly competitive person for the stuff that I care about, like CrossFit. You know, I want to be the best at that. And, you know, every like mindset book now will tell you that it's not worth competing with other people. You should only compete with yourself,
right?
Because that's the only thing you can control, which I agree with. But I still want to compete with everybody else too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, like, and so with my clients, like there's definitely some people that are more on the competitive side. And then there's others that just, you know, are not concerned with that at all.
Well, so, and even like, let's take away the competing with other people too. It's just, maybe it's even just like the drive to get up, to go to we were just talking about this, right? I think it might have been off camera, but it was you know, they have the drive to take the trash out,
right?
But they don't have the drive to go to the gym.
Yeah. And
when you get out of an environment like college sports and you run into this issue where there's no need necessarily to.
There's no external motivator.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then you come out and there's no external motivator. There's nobody pushing you to do it.
Yeah.
So you're just like, all right, it's fine, but you lose that edge to actually compete against yourself, so to speak, or you lose that edge to keep yourself in shape. You lose that edge to like that self-discipline.
No, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've found that it seems to be there's two paths. There's like the path that I took where I knew after college I was going to go into fitness in some capacity, or I was going to be playing soccer still. But I knew whatever I'd be doing, I would still be fit. Like there was just no doubt in my mind. I wasn't concerned. And then there's the other path where people, you know, college sports can burn you out a little bit.
Understand?
Sure.
I can imagine.
And so then they end up getting to that. You know, you're talking about soccer in the fall is our last. You know, you're done in the fall, and then you graduate in the spring. Usually, they take the spring off from doing anything physical, and then they're just probably, you know, hitting the bar because that's what you can do. And then next thing you know, graduate, get a job, still don't have any kind of like fitness regimen because that regimen was playing the sport that is now gone. So that structure was already provided for us. I mean, our coaches gave us a calendar of the whole semester every year. Like, this is when you're practicing, this is when you're lifting, this is when we're running. It's all ironed out for you. So after you graduate, no one's doing that for you again. So there's no real, like, it's not like you said, like the motivation, the accountability is built in because it's a part of the sport.
Right.
So then you have those people that end up 5 years down the road, you know, get a job, maybe sit at a desk all day, don't lift, don't work out, probably maybe have gained 15, 20, 25 pounds. And they're like, holy shit, I used to be this high level athlete. And now I don't feel like I was ever that person. Those are the people that I'm talking to.
Yeah. And that's people I want to dive into about. But you mentioned something, and I actually want to talk to you about your own path as well.
Yeah.
So actually, I have an interesting statistic here. So according to the NCAA, it's there are about 460,000 student athletes, but only like about 2% or like less than that ever go pro. So now obviously there are limited spots on these professional teams in NFL, NBA, even soccer, right? But why do you think, other than that, the limited spot issue, do athletes not go pro? Because I mean, we talked about like lack of structure. We talked about lack of drive, potentially even like injuries that they may have sustained? Is there anything else? And anything maybe you've even dealt with yourself?
As to why people don't go pro?
Either why people don't go pro, or even you yourself, like you said, like
Yeah.
you kept up your physical fitness after college,
Yeah.
but you didn't go. From my understanding, like you didn't go pro,
No.
right?
No, I had some opportunities, but this question is a little bit more complex than just a straightforward answer because talking about the different sports, like there is a difference with the different sports. So for example, like soccer is not the main sport in the United States, right? And it's growing. It's grown so much probably in the past, 2025, 10 plus years.
Okay.
But I mean, football, basketball, and then probably baseball, hockey, maybe, and soccer are now on the same level. Football, I think the thought is like if you're a Division I football player, you could go pro. Probably have better chances of going pro, but practically from any other division, because I mean Division I is for football is split up FBS, FCS. So you have D1 AA, and then you got D2, D3. Anyone below FBS, which is like what you're seeing on TV, you get like one or two people that get drafted or signed. As like you could be an unsigned free agent or whatever, but it's like you said, it's a very low percentage of people. Now you get into soccer. When it comes to soccer, there's not a huge draft class. I don't even know if it was 3 rounds this year. It was. I mean, the NFL draft goes to what? 11, there's like maybe 10 rounds.
Yeah.
With MLS, I think there's 3. And the thing with the MLS draft too, if you're not a first rounder, you're usually getting signed to a team, but you're not necessarily signing a first team contract yet. So you can get drafted, but not necessarily be signed.
Okay.
And so what can happen is you get drafted by a team, you go into preseason, then they can cut you, and then now you've been drafted, but you're not under contract.
That's a little weird how that works.
Yeah, and so it's like I said, it's a bigger conversation with soccer in the United States because in Europe they do things very differently. Where like you're signed to a pro club at like age 12 potentially, and then from there you're not going to college. I mean, there's a lot of people from Europe and other parts of the world that come here to play college soccer, but it's now, I mean, within soccer in the United States, we have the MLS. Now we have and then there's MLS Next, which is like the second division of the MLS. A lot of the major clubs in the MLS have clubs in MLS Next, which is like they're kind of like their I don't want to say B team because it's not really that, but like in baseball, you have a farm system. You have MLB and then AAA, AA, single A. It's similar to that. But then the USL, which is what the Riverhounds play in, the USL Championship, USL 1, USL 2. So you could be a pro playing in USL Championship, but it's just different. MLS is the first division. They have the highest league minimum salary. USL Championship is lower than that. It's still a high level of competition. It's been growing. But, when it comes down to it, like years ago before the USL Championship was what it was now, there was not a lot of money to be made to be a pro in that league. And
in soccer, period.
Well, if you could get to the MLS, it's not as much as the NFL,
right?
But it's it's a different thing. And so, for me coming out of college, I had a trial with a major league indoor team in Harrisburg. Similar thing, not like a highly known league. They paid. I don't know. I never got to that point in the conversation where there was a contract offered, but I did not expect to make a lot from doing it, and it's a different sport to the point where like the goalkeepers are getting blasted. So I was like, I don't want to get hit in the face every day for money that wasn't worth it in my opinion. I expected.
for you personally. Yeah.
So for me, I was just like, I'm just going to go into coaching because I know it would have been really tough. I was a 5'7" goalkeeper. I would have been a number 3 on any team that I would have got signed by, and then from there I would have had to I had to be willing to go everywhere too. Like I'm rooted in Pittsburgh. I would have done it if it would have meant being a pro, but that was kind of my thought process behind it.
Yeah, like the cost benefit analysis of going pro for you would have been a goalkeeper, right?
Yeah, that was what I was my whole
just
life.
Catching soccer balls to the face for a living.
Yeah. I got hit in the head so many times, man. It was I have a very love-hate relationship with it. I still enjoy it. Coaching it is awesome, but it's one of the most frustrating positions that exists.
Sure, absolutely. So, but it was a cost benefit analysis between, all right, do I go pro as a goalkeeper, and is Riverhounds? Actually, I was going to ask you about the Riverhounds because I was curious if you ever played for them. And
I had a trial with them,
you had
but
a trial
I
with them.
never was offered a contract.
You never offered a contract, so it's just that's so weird. Actually, I didn't know that about soccer, that you could be drafted.
Yeah, there is a draft.
There's a draft, but you don't necessarily sign. You're not signed on to the team.
There are some instances where someone will get drafted and then sign a first team contract. But then there's others where, like, you'll get drafted, but then you go into preseason, so you're basically trying out. Like that gets you a tryout, and then from there, if you earn your spot, then they'll offer you a contract. If not, those guys will then go to like maybe a lower division.
Oh, so you
USL
start at the
championship.
top. You
Yeah,
start at the top, and you can.
Yeah,
and then if nobody at the top, it's correct me if I'm wrong. So it's MSL, right?
MLS. Major League Soccer.
MLS, Major League Soccer, and then from MLS, the next rung down is.
So there's MLS Next.
Okay.
But that's within the same league, and then you have next to that is USL Championship, which is United Soccer League.
Right.
And then they have USL Championship, USL 1, USL 2. You can switch between them. There's just differences. Like the USL has a CBA, like a collective bargaining agreement, which establishes like minimum salaries, housing requirements, things like that. MLS Next does not necessarily have that. MLS, I believe they do. So it just depends, like guys will favor going to like an MLS Next team with the chance that might get them into the first team in the MLS, in the first division.
Oh, okay. So sometimes
they'll
go for one in hopes of
if you play well, because that's like they're connected. Like you could end up getting bumped up.
Yeah.
But then USL Championship might offer a little bit more like security, or like it's both leagues have grown so much to where, I mean, in my opinion, like I think you could do like, I mean, Louisville, Kentucky, for example, is in the USL Championship.
Okay.
And they have an MLS caliber stadium, but they're not in the MLS. And so like the way that the USL has grown, it's almost like
it's getting up to MLS territory.
They're trying to compete with the MLS.
Yeah.
And so it's like the trajectory that a lot of, like, you just see, I mean, now, like, having been a pro coach for 2 years, like, I mean, there's still guys around the league that are still playing, and you just see like where they they went from here, they went from there, and then just like kind of where they end up. And the dream of, like, you think about in comparison to football, like being in the NFL, it's hard. Like it's like being a pro is like such a grind, because the season's 10 months long. You might not get re-signed by your current team, and then
that's a lot.
What do you do? I mean, you got an agent that helps you, sure, but and then you've got to go find somewhere else to play, and it's a lot of it with soccer. If you're a pro, a lot of it is just love of the game. Like, it's not as extravagant as people think being a pro is.
Right. It's not the NFL. It's not NBA.
No.
Like,
there's guys that are living like that play in the MLS. I mean, like, we got Lionel Messi playing for, Inter Miami now. Like, he's the best in the world. Like, but
that's Messi.
Different. Exactly. It's different. Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, though, when you were looking at it, you were like, all right, cost benefit analysis. I could go pro as a goalkeeper, but then just for you, maybe was part of it, maybe was the amount of money, part of it was like, you know what, I don't know if I want to get like have catching soccer balls to the faces like the rest of my life.
There was, I mean, I still play now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I got hit in the face, not in the face, in the head 3 times my junior year of college.
Oh, jeez.
One time I made a save, went to turn around to look where it went, and hit the post, came back, hit me in the top of the head. And that was a concussion. I was out for 2 weeks.
Oh, my God.
And then I kept getting hit. And I don't know what was going on that year, but like I came back from the concussion, dislocated this finger, and then in the spring got hit 2 more times.
Jesus.
Yeah, and the second 2 times turned out to be migraines. The way that they, like the path they followed, like I'd get hit and then I'd get blurry vision, and then I'd go home and sleep, and then I'd feel fine. And so they said because of that, it was like I was like self-regulating by going to sleep and eating, and then it would just go away. Okay. And I was like, all right, sure. But then I played my last year at Westchester, went to the national championship, lost in the final, and there was a part of me, I mean, I was 23, I was playing like probably some of my best soccer that I've ever played, and I don't know, I was kind of beat up. I just felt like, I'm like, I'm not going to go and continue to grind through this and not really make a ton of money doing it and probably set myself back a couple years. There's part of me that I shouldn't even say that. I don't have a lot of regrets with it. Like I don't wish I would have tried harder to play pro. I'm good with where I'm at. It was always like a plan A was to try and go pro. Plan B was to be a coach, which I did. And then plan C was to go all in on doing like something like CrossFit, which I'm kind of like doing now.
Oh, okay.
So
you had like, you had fallbacks if needed be.
I did them all. Yeah.
Yeah, you did them all.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, if I was in your side, I personally would be like, yeah, no, you tried it at the very, you went for it, you tried it. So,
yeah.
So absolutely, man. What was the what happened to set yourself a year back, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I just meant like if I would have went and played, like for example, one of my former teammates at Pitt got offered a contract from a club that doesn't exist anymore, and they offered him he wasn't going to get paid for the first year. Like they were like, we'll put you up in a hotel, like we'll, sort out your housing, pay, like feed you, but you're not going to make any money. And so, I mean, this guy was a good player. It was a good club at the time. But I'm like, that guy probably held like a higher like stock value as a player than I would have as a 5'7" goalkeeper that was going to be a third.
Okay.
So then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I go play pro somewhere and don't make any money for a year, I'm going to set myself back just as a person, like trying to, as an adult, try and,
to live life. And absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so you decided not to go pro because cost-benefit analysis wasn't worth it for you. So then you went into coaching immediately, or like quote-unquote immediately, so to speak?
It was pretty quickly. I coached for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds Academy since I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so as soon as I went to college, I started, because the coach that recruited me to go to Pitt was the starter as a goalkeeper at the Riverhounds, and he was the director of goalkeeping. So like as soon as after my freshman season, I was coaching. And then from there, I just did it the whole rest of the time. So then after, Westchester, I came back. And like in the spring of that year, I accepted the assistant director of goalkeeping position with the Riverhounds for when I would come back to Pittsburgh. So then I did that. And then I worked at a gym in the South Side. And then in, what was it? I think it was December of that same year, so it was 2019. That was when I got the call from Virginia Tech. Another former coach that I'd had was there. He left, and they were looking for a goalkeeper coach, and he gave them my name. And so VTech did things where they had their goalkeeper coach was a volunteer assistant, wasn't like a paid member of the staff.
I see.
So yeah, I got that call, and then I was like, well, I'm not really doing anything else. I'm just like, I'm kind of working like 2 part-time jobs, and I was living at home, and I was like, I mean, this is, I don't know, like I wasn't like, it wasn't what I'd applied for other jobs, like other college coaching jobs, like on Indeed and stuff, which like, that's not how you get a college coaching job, but I was just like.
Is it in that realm more so like, it's kind of who you know?
It's networking, 100%.
It's networking, okay.
Yeah, but I was just throwing it out there just to see what would happen.
Right.
And so then I get this thing from Virginia Tech, and yeah, I was just like, this could just be, I don't know, what I'm supposed to do. Who knows? And I just
could lead to something, right?
I just let it rip. I was like, I'm just gonna do it, And it was kind of crazy. Like I decided within like a couple of days, and I mean, it's not necessarily close to here. Like it's a 6-hour drive, like straight down. You're closer to Tennessee than you are to like all the other cool stuff in Virginia.
Okay.
And I got down there, and I mean, I lived in a basement. Like I rented a basement from this couple that had rented to the volunteer assistant prior that was there before me, and I washed dishes in my bathroom sink. Like it was very much like a grind, and that's kind of what it is when you're a volunteer assistant trying to like break into college coaching. And yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I met some cool people down there. Our director of ops was a CrossFit level 2 like certification. We used to work out together all the time. Super fit guy. He was the man. And so I was able to kind of do both. Like I was still working out, I was still coaching, but this is 2020, right? This is January 2020. So we all know what's coming.
Yes, we do. It's the pandemic.
Yeah.
Actually, I did a little bit of research on you. So I know you were a political science and government major. So
I was.
When you're talking about things you were doing, so you didn't go pro, went to coaching.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, I mean, you're still coaching now?
Yeah.
But one question I wanted to ask you was like, why'd you get that major, and did you think you would be doing any? Did you think you would be doing anything with it like post college?
Yeah. So the plan was, I actually went into college undecided, and then I had no idea what I wanted to do. Okay. I did not have the strongest like math and science like teaching growing up. Like I felt like in high school math was tough. Like
that sucks.
That's all I'll say about that.
I'm a Brown kid and I hate math.
Yeah, dude, that's a crazy joke to make, but no, so I took an American politics class and I loved it. Like I was like really just like lit up by like politics used to just fire me up, and not in any which way, but just like I don't know, something about it. I was just really into it. Yeah. And then I decided to make that my major. And I remember talking with my advisor, and she was like, you could be a teacher, you could do all this different stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe. And I had somebody tell me one time that I should be a politician. I'm not going to be a politician. But when I went to...
Too likable to be a politician.
Thank you. I went to that... what was it? I graduated with my bachelor's, and then when I went to Westchester, I was there to get certified to be a teacher.
Oh, okay.
That was the connection. So I was going to be a 4 through 8 social studies teacher.
Oh.
But then I never finished that certification because I left Westchester early.
You left Westchester. So 4 years of Pitt, and then, right? 4 years Pitt, and then 2 years?
It was meant to be a year and a half at Westchester, but I did that year, played soccer that first fall, stayed the spring, and then after that, they were like, you got to come back and student teach in the spring. And I was like, well, what about the fall? Like, you can go be a sub. And I was like, So I just came back because I knew I didn't really want to go back to high school or like middle school right away. Like I felt like I was just like, I just graduated there. I'm going to go back to teaching, and then I'm going to be there for 30 years. And I'm going to be like, holy shit, where'd the time go?
Right.
That's just what I was thinking. So then I was like, I'm just going to go back and coach.
Very cool, man. Well, what's funny is that I'm also I'm a Pittsburgh alum as well. Uh-huh. And then also you went to Westchester.
Yep.
And my hometown is actually right near Westchester.
Where are you from?
Chester Springs.
Oh, yeah.
So like I'm like Westchester is I think 30 minutes if that away from my hometown.
Westchester was the funnest year of my life.
Yeah.
It was the best.
It's a good area.
Unbelievable place.
Absolutely. And actually what's funny is I don't think I told you this when we initially connected, but I also used to play soccer as well. Like when I was a kid, I didn't play at a collegiate level. Uh-huh. Like my dad used to coach my soccer team.
Okay.
And I never had the courage to catch soccer balls to the face, so I wasn't a goalkeeper. But I was defense.
Okay. Yeah. So that's still blocking shots. Like you're not safe.
There was this one time where. So imagine me except like shrimpier and like has like glasses and like no upper body muscle. Uh-huh. So I think it was like 10, 12, and it was like the middle of the season where we're playing this game where it's like a point or two away in our favor.
Okay.
And there's this one kid on this team that was like huge, like big kid.
Yeah, there's always one of them.
There's always one of them, like with the tank.
Uh-huh.
And I had the bright idea in my mind, like, hey, you know what? Like, he's got the ball coming up the field. I'm just gonna like take it from him. So I'm barreling. It's like playing a game of chicken. Like I'm barreling down the field. He's barreling down the field, like up his end.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I did this, but it's like right before, like seconds before we collided. I like, you know how you do like at a penalty kick, like you go like this.
Yeah.
I did that for some reason, and he just like. Bulldozed me over. Yeah. I kicked the ball out from under him.
Okay, you won the tackle. Yeah.
I won the tackles, but like but my body didn't.
Yeah.
So and then my dad like hoists me up, and he's like, in very dad way, he's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then in the same breath, he's like, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot."
Yeah. That's
So hey, like, you never stop.
You won the tackle though. That's all that matters.
I won the tackle.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to put your body on the line. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Yes, sir. But going from coaching, and then we talked about 2020,
right?
So we kind of know what's coming.
Yep.
So what was the transition from coaching soccer and doing the things you were doing at that time to teaching to fitness training, like in coaching? Like what was your mindset at the time, kind of?
So the way that happened was when I was in Blacksburg, I was actually supposed to go in because I had just gotten certified to be a personal trainer like in January, right before I moved, and there was a gym down there that someone had a connection with, and I was supposed to go there and just kind of like work there part-time. Like I was coaching club in Virginia also, and then with Virginia Tech as well. And then I came back in March for spring break, and that was when shit hit the fan. It was like that, like the 12th or something. Because on Tuesday, I got a call from our head coach, and he was like, hey, come down, move out, like, we're done. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. And honestly, I didn't really want to go back anyway. Like, it was hard to be down there, man, by myself. I was a 24-year-old post-grad. Blacksburg, Virginia is very much like Penn State. Like, it's just, it is, Blacksburg is what it is because of Virginia Tech. There's nothing else around it. So I didn't do much. Like, I was just kind of like, I'm doing my job, I'm working out, that's it. I'm just sitting in this basement, you know? So it was tough. But I come back down to Virginia to get all my stuff. I was there for like a week, just, you know, just kind of like tying up loose ends with the office or whatever else was going on. And I had this idea for a band, like just a resistance band program. So it was like a program that you only needed 3 bands to do.
Okay.
I still have it to this day, actually. It's just a file in my MacBook. But my whole idea was, because I worked at this gym previously, and it was a large population of like women, and like the bands that go around your knees, like the booty bands. Like I was like, oh, like that's the market. I was like, that's what I'm gonna do.
Marshall's booty pants.
Yeah, I was like, there's definitely a way I could sell that, you know. And so it didn't work out the way I thought it was. It did, but it was actually kind of funny. The way it did happen was, I made this program. I remember sitting in the office at Virginia Tech. I'm like typing it up on my computer, and then I found bands. So there was a green one, which was like a 60-pound resistance, a red one, which was 30, and then there was like those mini bands. I could get a set of like I don't know, 3 of them for $6 a set.
They're actually really useful.
They are. No, yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I use them all the time. But so I put together all this stuff, right? I made the program, and I found bands on eBay that would ship from China. So I was getting like bulk, like 10 each strength. And they were taking like 40 days to get to my house, but I would buy them for cheap. And then right in like the spring, everything's closed, right? Like I went to the Dick's Sporting Goods in the mall to get change plates for my home gym. There was nothing. Like they had no shipments because everything was shut down.
This is spring 20.
This is spring 2020.
2020, yeah.
So then I became the plug for resistance bands in Pittsburgh.
Really?
Yeah, like legit. No one wanted my program. They just wanted the bands that I bought from China. So I was buying bands from China and flipping them and just driving them around and delivering them in Pittsburgh.
So you dabbled in some e-commerce.
I did. Yeah. And that was like kind of the thought behind it. I was like, okay, am I gonna have digital products with bands, like with equipment also that's going to be sold from my website? Is that the move? And then I made shirts. Everything was discounted at the time because no one was buying anything. So I got Underground Printing in Oakland. I got 30 shirts for like 40% off. Sold all of those in the first 2 weeks because no one's doing anything. So they're just looking for shit to do. They're like, oh, you're selling shirts, I'll buy one. I need something to do with myself. So I made the logo, sold the shirts. I was at the post office every day. And then I'm like, this sucks. I don't want to be shipping out all these shirts all the time. So then I go to start doing drop shipping, like direct-to-garment stuff. And I still do that to this day. So before I even start coaching anybody, I'm selling shirts with a Marshall Fitness logo. Huh. I know, which is weird. Like you would think in the natural evolution. Sorry to interrupt you. But you would think in the natural evolution you would have a client first and then you would start apparel. Yeah. So
but you were experimenting.
It just became this thing because Marshall Fitness, the name actually comes from when I first started lifting when I was 18. My brother and I, my younger brother, who's 2 years younger than me, used to go down in our garage and lift, and he used to refer to it as Marshall Fitness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dude, that's really cool.
So it wasn't, I didn't come up with the idea. It was just already kind of there.
Yeah.
And then over the years, I was always posting videos of what I was doing. Like when I was in the gym, I would post a video on Instagram for years before it became a business, and I always hashtagged it Marshall Fitness. So there was name recognition for like 6 years before I even made it into something that was business related.
That's actually really interesting that you bring that up because a lot of people, like I think nowadays, like the cool hot new thing is like developing like a personal brand for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
But like for good reason though, because if you develop yourself as a brand, like then you could monetize that audience if you wanted to.
You can, yeah.
But what's interesting with you is that you were doing that. I don't know if unknowingly is like the word, but that's kind of what comes to mind. But you're kind of already doing that for 6 years.
I wasn't planning it at all.
No, but that's the point, though. It's like
yeah.
you weren't even planning it, but you were doing it.
Yeah.
And you did it for 6 years. And then those 6 years of doing it without ever knowing if this was going to pay off, it did pay off.
Yeah, I mean, that was my thought behind it the whole time. It works out really well that I did it that way. Because I think what I was able to do was kind of show everybody who's been watching, you know, whoever that may be, however many people that may be, is like, okay, this guy is consistent and he just means what he says.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm saying like, yeah, like you can go to the gym and put in the work. Like you can do it. I've done it. I've been doing it for 10 years and there's all this evidence that shows that I've been doing it. So I think it did help, especially in the beginning when I started like launching, like offering personal training. It wasn't one of those things where I think people were like, "Oh God, what's this guy up to now?" Like, he's trying to do personal training. You know, it's like, oh well, he's been doing this forever. Like, it does kind of make sense that he's now doing this
because you have that backlog of evidence, irrefutable visual evidence that you are the person that you're qualified.
Oh yeah. Because I think people put stuff out there all the time. Like, you know, I mean, during the pandemic, so many people started like sticker businesses. You know, like where they were just like they were making stickers, which. Sure. At the time, I mean, I think it worked for some people at the time, but then it disappeared. And I have no issue with people trying something and deciding after the juice isn't worth the squeeze to stop. You know?
Yeah, sometimes you need to know.
Sometimes, that's how it goes. Yeah. But my issue is with people that like half start, where they announce it and then it just doesn't, there's nothing after that.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you got to commit to something. Like this podcasting, it's the same thing. If you're going to do it, you got to commit. Yeah. And then if you get a year or two in and you're like, I kind of want to put my attention somewhere else, like a couple you gave it a shot, right? Absolutely. But like the alternative, I think people just all too often get ideas and then just never make it happen because they just don't put forward anything concrete.
It's not even that, man. I think there's also times where like you're doing something and more often than not, you're not going to see the results until they show up on the back end of whatever you're doing, right? And unfortunately that back end is like sometimes a decade. Yeah. For certain things, right? Like
100%.
I initially had an idea to start this podcast and one of my mentors, one of my really close friends, he was like, "Well, that's great. You can do that, but you don't really have any credibility." And actually, I mean, I'm not a medical student. I'm not even a physician, right? So I have to be careful about like how I phrase certain things because I don't have the credibility to say like this is what it is. Like I can't.
Yeah, right.
But what he did recommend is why don't you write a blog about what you've been doing since your gap year? So I graduated in 2022. Okay. And then I'm aiming to attend medical school in 2026. Okay. So it's been a couple of years since college. So I've been writing a blog as to what I've been up to since my gap year. So that like at least there's something out there first, like some foundation.
Yeah, I did that for a bit.
Yeah, you wrote a blog?
Like very not consistently, but I had a library of blog posts.
Do you have a link to it still? Or I'd love to read it.
No, it was on my old, it was a first version of my website, which I'm now on my third. So they're not uploaded. I have them. Okay. I've been meaning to kind of like put them back out there. I just haven't done it yet.
Might be worth doing, man. I'd be down to read it.
I wrote one. It was like a 4-part series about going to the Final Four or the national championship. From my perspective, obviously.
Obviously. Yeah. I'd be down to read that.
I could get them back out of the files.
Dude, if you do that, you have my full support. Like,
all right, I'll send them to you.
For sure, man. Thank you. Yeah, I think you can learn a lot about yourself, like writing, like, and especially if you're writing for an audience, like especially if you're doing anything for an audience. Sometimes you realize you can't do things explicitly for you. Sometimes you have to craft things in a certain way.
And, but that's the most interesting thing because like who are you to yourself?
Correct.
That's been the craziest thing about being on camera, because it's such a weird meta thought, but I know what I think your perception is of what I'm saying, right? But I can't truly know how you're perceiving me or how I'm perceiving
You could take
me.
a stab at it. You could take a stab
You
at
could
it.
try, but if by seeing yourself on camera, Like that's how you know how you're actually coming off
Oh,
to
for sure.
the rest of the world, right? And so there was always this weird disconnect of like, am I actually, showing up the way that I think I'm showing up based on how I'm seeing it through my own eyes?
Right, because in your head, what you think about in your own head, how you're showing up is going to be very different when it's in a visual medium.
Absolutely.
Because like the first podcast, my mentor was like, stop doing this, stop doing that. Like you have this weird tick that you're not aware of. And I'm like, I do? He's like, watch that back.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
You have it. And I'm just like, oh my God. Yeah, I just need to stop doing that.
Yeah. For a public speaking perspective, watching yourself speak is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, it's also cringy. Like, I don't like watching myself talk.
I thought my voice sounded really weird for a long time, and now I don't notice it anymore. Like, I'm just like, oh, that's me.
Is that something you just get over?
Yeah, it goes away.
Okay, good. Because I still haven't gotten over it.
There's so much stuff now. I mean, I've done so many episodes, I mean, with our own and then on other podcasts, and also recording myself for Instagram and all that stuff. Like, now it's just like, it just is what it is.
Nice, man. But going back to, because we went on a tangent, but I did want to
go
back. No, that's the thing about podcasts, man.
Yeah,
you go on tangents, and the tangents can be just as informative and entertaining as the main conversation. But going back to, Inception. Oh, yeah.
Coaching. That's what we were talking about, right?
We were going to coaching.
Transition.
Yeah. Your transition to coaching.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
because you did some e-commerce.
Yes, I did that. So, in the summer of 2020, I started doing in-person personal training in my parents' garage. So I had 2 clients, Fran and Jake. They were like Marshall Fitness OGs.
Nice.
They were friends. They showed up together, and I worked with them like 3 times a week. And eventually I realized that I would be limited by my time heavily, and not even if I was going to scale it in my parents' garage, but just in general, because the thought process is like, okay, I'm here in this garage. I could go and work at another gym and pay them, or they would pay me and take a large percentage of, what I was of revenue I was bringing in.
Yeah.
And I was like, that just doesn't really feel like the move. So then I was actually in Philadelphia. I was driving back from Philly. I was visiting some former teammates, and I'm listening to this podcast. It was called Barbell Shrugged. And I listened to it. I used to listen to it all the time. It was great. And there's a guy on there. His name is Jonathan Goodman, and he was the founder of the online. What was it called at the time? It's Online Trainer Academy, or Online Trainer Mentorship is what it's called now. It used to be called the Online Trainer Academy. And he was talking about how during the pandemic, all these in-person personal trainers were taking their businesses online and scaling way up and like cutting expenses, and it was great. Like, people were saving their businesses from going online. And I'd always been aware of online personal training, but I was always like, how is this possible? Like, how are people actually getting these results without being with someone in person? And now I'm like, that's crazy. I never thought that, because it's the only way, in my opinion, except for special circumstances like we were talking about before. But yeah, so then I remember the moment. I remember driving and hearing him talk about this, and I was like, this is the thing.
Like the light bulb went out?
Yeah. And then not even a week later, I was at home. I bought the initial course, which was just a self-paced business course. So it was just, how do you structure an online business? It was like, marketing, how to deliver workouts, like the legalities, all the different type of stuff, insurance, everything. So I was set up within a week. And then I got my first online client, one of my old teammates, Dan Lind. We played Call of Duty together every day during the pandemic because there was nothing else to do. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to start taking, personal training online. And he was like, I'll be your first client. And so then the second it was set up, I was like, hey, this is what it is. Like, this is, how much I'm going to charge. And he was like, I'm in. And so, I had him, and then I had a second one. And then from there, it's not like I got 20 clients right away, but I had 2 people. I was still doing a little bit of in-person, and I was still coaching. So I'm doing all these things at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then from there, like, I've done more mentorship with that same Online Trainer Academy. I'm in it right now, currently on my second full year. So I've done that since 2020. I've been involved with them.
Fantastic, man.
Invested a lot in financially in mentorship, but I think that's the best thing you can do. And so, yeah, it just kind of like started with 1, and then, at my highest, I was at 34 clients, I think. Now I'm at like 22, but don't look at that. That's not a negative thing. It's just kind of the ebb and flow of business.
Yeah. What was the highest amount of clients, the most amount of clients you ever had in a given time?
34.
34.
Yeah.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, that was like summer of think it was summer of 23 or so.
Okay.
It changes with the year. You know, like things are different. Like January is always expected to be a big month, but then this January was a little weird. You know, like we just had an election. Like there's just
that affects fitness.
I mean, I'm not saying that the election by itself did, but I think people's minds are other places right now. Like
okay, that can make sense.
You know, the economy. Like there's all kinds of there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more stuff that could steal your attention right now that's like a little bit more existential than just being like, you know, like if you're someone that's never been worried about fitness before and you're just like worried about like, I don't know, gas prices. I mean, in theory, like if you're worried about other stuff that's affecting your life directly, like...
Oh, that means then like why am I going to spend...
Exactly. Like,
okay,
like grocery prices are super high. I got to worry about that before I can even think about hitting the gym.
Hitting the gym. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's been good. I mean, it's been steady. And the thing about being self-employed is like you always worry that all your clients are going to disappear like tomorrow, which I've learned in 5 years doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen.
But the thought never goes away.
Do you think that could be? I'm a big fan of mindset shifts.
Yeah.
So do you think that could be? You could switch that into a positive, where it's like a pressure that you have to like make sure that the business is always.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah,
right.
100%. Yeah, it's one of those things. I think when you're self-employed, like your back's against the wall, like they say, you got to burn the boats. You know, like if you have something else that is maybe taking your attention away or whatever, like you've got to go all in on the thing.
Yeah.
And that I did that in March of 23 when I left the Riverhounds. So the whole time I was building Marshall Fitness, I was also with the Riverhounds. Yeah.
Okay.
So 2020 through 2023, I joined the pro team staff in 21. Mm-hmm. So I was with 2 seasons with the pro team, but then the whole time with the academy. So when I left the Riverhounds, I was assistant with the pro team and then director of goalkeeping.
And then you started Marshall Fitness
in 2020.
In 2020. So from 2020 to 2023.
I did both.
You did both?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot, dude.
It wasn't bad. In the first year, it was pretty manageable, to be honest, because with the way that with the Riverhounds, the way it was set up is I was working with the academy at night and I was with the pro team during the day. So it was like understood that I could not be there for 6 hours in the morning and then be there all day and then go coach from 7 to 10 at night.
Right.
So I was in there. I would usually go in early and lift, and then I'd be there from 9 to like 2 is when the first team would be doing our stuff. And then on not every day, but most like 2-3 days a week, I'd go back out from like 7 to 10 to work with the kids.
Okay.
So then in between that, I had time to do Marshall Fitness stuff. I mean, when we're traveling, we're on away trips, like I'd be doing stuff from like hotel lobbies and, you know, whatever on the bus, in the airports. And then in the second year, I realized, I think I had like 18 clients or something, and I was like, this is going to be tough. And so I made the decision to leave towards the end of that season. It was difficult. Like I probably would still be doing that today if it wasn't for the business.
Wow. Also a big part of your identity too, right? It's just soccer in general.
Yeah. I mean, soccer always pulls me back somehow. Like no matter what I do, like I always end up being involved in it. There have been a couple different times where I thought like, maybe this is it. Like maybe I'm not going to do this anymore. And then next thing I know.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah. Cause March 23, I went to Portugal for a month.
Okay.
That was like one of the things I wanted to be able to do. After starting an online business, I was like, eventually I want to be able to just travel and run the business from wherever I am. So I bought a one-way ticket to Portugal. Okay. I got an Airbnb for a month. I stayed in Porto for a month. I went over to Manchester for a weekend.
Playing soccer?
I saw Man City play Liverpool at the Etihad.
Nice.
It was unreal. And so that was all like my big plan, right? And so I did that. It was very hard to be in, you know, non-Portuguese speaker in Portugal. I thought it'd be easier. It wasn't. But then I came back and I'm like, okay, well now what do I do? So I'm back in Pittsburgh. I was at home for like a week. I got a new apartment. And then I'm at my high school football field and the director of the club that I used to play for sees me there and he's like, hey, you know, we'd love to have you come work with our goalkeepers. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And so then that's the club I've been working with now since 23.
There you go. And like you said, it always pulls you back in.
Always.
But it's good. It's
always,
good.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. And so needless to say, you're a very busy man.
Yeah. I'm probably not as busy right now as I have been in the past, but like I like to keep myself pretty busy.
That's good, man. No, I think what's idle hands do the devil's work, so to speak.
I was just thinking that as you said it. Yeah, it really was.
Same wavelength. So, but going back to your first client was a friend of yours, your teammate, actually. A teammate of yours?
Yeah, teammate.
Would you guys meet in Westchester or?
No, he was from Pitt.
From Pitt?
He was the starting goalkeeper when I was a freshman and a sophomore.
So even your starting client, actually, demographic-wise, was a former
the guy,
college
yeah,
athlete.
Former athlete. Yeah, he was a pro
really
too.
Cool.
He played pro for, I think 3 years. He did 1 year in Rochester with the Rochester Rhinos, and then he played for the Riverhounds actually for I think 2 seasons.
Goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So are former college athletes a majority of your demographic of clients?
Not at all.
Really?
Yeah, not at all. I know that's like the thing, like that's what you'd expect, but if I looked at my client list right now, there's only 4 out of 22.
Have you had more at certain times of the year or a certain time ever?
It kind of, there's always at least a couple.
Okay.
But for some reason, I mean, I don't think it doesn't really matter. Like if someone's not a former athlete,
clients are clients, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
There's the people that I like to work with a lot are the ones that are like have no experience.
Really?
Because they can see results so fast. Because like a former athlete like myself, like if you went from lifting, if you used to do, same thing. Like, okay, if I was lifting for 5 years and I took 2 years off,
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have the same development that I had before just from strength training for 5 years. But the second that I started again, I would probably respond pretty quickly. Like that's just kind of how the body goes. Like there's muscle memory to it, right? Yeah. So same thing with people that have never trained before ever. They might have like a higher body fat percentage or something, but there's beginner gains is a real thing. And so those people within 12 weeks can look completely different. Like I've got 2 guys right now, both are current clients. One's a little further along than the other. One guy lost like 20 pounds in 12 weeks and that might seem extensive. That might seem like fast, but it's just total body recomposition. Like just started strength training. And these are the people too, where they're like, I just did everything you told me. I'm like, yeah, isn't it crazy how that works? And so like got them on some creatine, started eating just better and lifting and everything.
What do you
changed.
know? Like I have visible abs.
Everything changed. Yeah. And so those people are fun. I like the former athletes because they can relate to me more. I can relate to them more. But, I've had people like in their 60s. I've had,
oh wow,
like it's a wide ranging variety.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask like what the demographic was. Is it a pretty even split between men and women, or do you get more?
There was a point in time where it was mostly guys. Like it was probably like 90%, but now I don't think it's 50-50, but it's probably like 60-40. I've gotten a lot more women in the past couple years. In the beginning, it was like all guys for a while, and there's no reason for that. I didn't like market only to men.
They heard about the booty bands.
That could have been it, but no, I think I had one good transformation that was like it was a female, and then like from there, when you post that, like that's gonna then open up the door to getting others.
Oh, for sure. I was gonna ask, are these? Because you said you had a 60-year-old client, right?
Yeah.
So what's the age range? And then are they kind of coming in like right after college, or are they coming in like a couple years on? Like, do you have a family at this point? Like.
I have one client right now who's actually a law student at SMU.
Oh.
So that's probably the youngest client I have. Most of them are like probably mid-20s at the youngest, like just established as like adults, like in their first career or something like that.
Yeah. That's a tough time.
Yeah, for sure. But then I have other people that are, maybe parents, ranging from like 40 to high 50s, maybe low 60s, but that's not common. Like that's more the exception. Like that's probably 1 out of every 20 people that I talk to. So yeah, as long as they can use an app and communicate with me, like there's no reason why they can't be successful.
There you go. So when we look at the actual training aspect, so what are the most common problems that you're running into with we can break it down into like collegiate athletes and then like non-collegiate athletes. So we talk about the athletes that you train. Are there any specific issues that they're coming in with when you start training them that you run into?
They're not really doing anything wrong. They're just not doing it. That's really the thing.
Okay, so like, can you explain like why are they not doing it?
Well, I think this can be for both groups, like former athletes and non-former athletes, is like the issue more often lies with the fact that they don't have structure to follow. And they come to me because I provide that structure. I provide the guidelines and like the step-by-step process, but then I'm also like looking over their shoulder the entire time because I am in their back pocket, basically. I'm
literally in their back pocket.
So, I mean, I look at myself as the example. Like I've never had a coach for fitness, but I've been doing it on my own for 10 years.
Right.
I'm not the person that needs the coach. Now there's people that do need the coach and then eventually don't because they've learned what they need to learn. But I think it comes down to like education and not knowing where to start because that's like paralyzing. I think especially now with everyone saying something different on social media, like people see one thing and they're like, oh, I should do that. And then they don't know if it's working because then they're like, I've done this for 3 weeks and nothing's changed. It's like, well, you need to be more patient, but I don't want to be more patient. So I'm going to go try this thing. And then now you're bouncing around and not giving anything time to actually help you change and grow. And then you end up stuck and then they end up frustrated because like, I've tried all these things, but I actually haven't done it for that long. So then what do I do? And then they need somebody that's going to like kind of be in their ear and say like, hey, you're doing the right things. Just chill out for a second and keep doing it. And then give yourself some time to like see the growth.
Is that something that that kind of structure that you just described would also be present in like that? Would that be present in college, right? Or your coach would be probably
absolutely
like, hey, listen, like I'm been dribbling the ball for like 3 weeks and I haven't got like.
No, 100%. Like there's guys, want to start as freshmen and they get mad. I mean, when I was a sophomore, there was a guy that didn't travel to one game. He was a freshman. He was like, are you going to quit? Like I didn't travel either. Okay. I was like, no, I'm not going to quit. Like I'm not here to, at the time I was like, that's crazy. Cause like, it's not really about games for me. Like I love training. I like being within the sport. Like, it's not like if I'm not starting, I'm quitting.
It's love of the game.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. Like if someone comes in as a freshman, they're not playing and they're like, oh, I want to quit. And it's like, well, what are you really doing here? You got to find, and with fitness, it's tough too, because that is what I would equate to someone looking for visual results after like 4 weeks. And then they're like, oh, I'm not seeing those results. I should quit because it's not working. You have to then take that person's mindset and change it to chase other things.
Yeah.
So performance goals, like, can you move more weight? Do you feel better? Are you less tired? Are you sleeping better? All those things are easier to spot than the visual changes, because you'll never see visual changes in the mirror for yourself. It's always going to be comparison. It's always going to be someone else telling you look different. Mm-hmm. Photos over a period of time. But looking in the mirror for results, our brains warp our perception all the time. And it happens more so when you're looking at your own self, right?
Yeah.
And that's like one of the hardest things to figure out, or to get people to understand, because it's just never going to happen the way they think it will.
Absolutely.
But then they wake up one day 6 months down the road, compare some pictures, and they're like, holy shit, I look so different.
But isn't it funny that it's always after someone says, hey, you look different. Like you look like you have more. Like,
yeah,
I do. And then it's like the next day, you look in the mirror like, oh wait, I do.
Like,
it's
oh damn, yeah.
This
is working. There's a phrase. It's like, it takes 4 weeks for your body to start changing. It takes 8 weeks for other people to notice that your body's changing. And it takes 12 weeks for you to notice that your body's changing. So right there, you got 12 weeks out the gate. That's 3 months. Like, that's not nothing.
No, that's a good amount of work, especially if you've been doing it consistently.
Yeah, consistency for 3 months is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Is there when we're looking at your athlete clients, so it sounds like it's just lack of structure. I was going to ask if there was have you had any instances where there was a sense of overconfidence that they knew what they're doing, they came in and they're like, well, like, I got this. You can give me like a little bit of advice here and there, but
sometimes that happens, but it's not specific to any individual person, or any type of person. It's just like, personalities, like. Which I find funny when that does happen, because I'm like, okay, you're paying me to coach.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you're paying me you're paying you to coach.
And now you're gonna tell me what you need. Like, I don't. How do we get here? I had a client one time who, he was like, I really want to see my abs, and I was like, all right, well, we're gonna lift and we're gonna eat right, and that's how you get there. And I gave him his program, and he was like, there's no abs in here. I was like, well, you're back squatting, you're deadlifting, like your abs are getting work, but it's not traditional ab work. And he's like, well, how am I going to see my abs if there's no ab work in here? And I'm like, well, that's not really how that works. But it's also one of those things where I didn't say that to him. I just said, okay, here, I'll give you some crunches. And it didn't do what it was, what he thought it was going to do. But like sometimes people just aren't ready to be told that they're wrong, and so then you have to choose when you want to have that conversation. I was like, I don't really feel like doing this right now because I don't think he's ready to hear it, and I don't think he's going to listen to me even if I say it. So I was like, I'll just give him what he wants. It's not going to make a difference, but but that doesn't happen that much. Mm-hmm. That's like very rare. Like 1 out of 100 people will have some preference that they feel like they know what they need to do.
Alternatively, is there any instances where they have a disappointment or like apprehension to the movements? Like they've done this for so long, but they're like, man, like I'm out of shape. Like I don't know if I can do that. Is that more common? Like I've always heard this. It's like I need to get in shape or I need to do something before I start lifting.
Oh, you need to get fit before you get fit?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've family members have told me that. Yeah. I'm like, that's not how this works.
I had my cousin told me that one time. I was like, dude, that's ridiculous. Not really. I mean, clients haven't told me that, but people like in the initial like assessment or like in the DMs or like on a call will tell me that. They're like, oh, I need to,
Oh, that's an objection they throw at you.
Yeah, 100%. They'll be like, I need to establish a routine first before I work with you. And I'm like, that's
what we're doing.
Yeah, this is the routine. I'm literally going to coach you to a routine.
Right.
There's ways to handle those objections, but I just like have to shake my head at stuff like that. But I do have a client right now. She was another former Pitt soccer player. She actually lives in Iceland.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to Jackie if she hears this. She played pro for Celtic in Scotland, and then I think she played in Iceland professionally. She's had her second kid, and
good for her.
I gave her like dead bugs. You familiar with the dead bug? Like the movement?
Yeah, is that the one where you have to like it's like a spinal movement, right?
Yeah, you're on your back. You want to push your low back into the ground, and you're alternating.
More than once. I've had to do PT twice because of a disc injury.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah,
so I've
definitely do some dead bugs for there. Yeah, but for her, she was like, these are really hard. Like, and I was like, well, can you do them? And she was like, yeah, but I just can't do all the reps. And I'm like, all right, well, that's fine. You just work up to it. Like, so that's one example. I mean, she definitely was not like put off by it. She wasn't demoralized by it, but she was just like, I noticed that this is not something that was hard for me before, but now it is. And so it's just, I mean, that's another area where like a former athlete is going to have the mindset of like, okay, this is hard now, but if I keep doing it, it'll get better.
Yep.
Where someone else would be like, I'm defeated. I can't do this shit. What do I do? And so for her, I'm not worried about it. Like I know her mindset is where it should be with it.
So
I keep bumping that.
Oh, okay. So here's the question. So is the defeated attitude something you see more with clients who haven't had an athletic background?
Yeah.
I see. Because you mentioned this. It's like, actually, it's not a lot of the issues you're finding with the college athletes with that. It's more so people who've never actually ever done it.
100%.
But then it's like, I wouldn't want to say, I don't know if it's like, you tell me if it's necessarily more rewarding or if it's a different kind of rewarding with the clients that haven't had an athletic background that kind of go through it for the first time.
Yeah, you could say it's more rewarding.
It's more,
I think so, because these are people that are super intimidated by the gym. And what's crazy, and I didn't expect to be able to say this, is to be able to become a confident person in the gym through an online program is kind of crazy, by just all that is having a program and knowing what you're going to do before you go to the gym. I had a client yesterday just like graduated, like finished his 6 months, gave me an amazing testimonial. Like I was like blown away at how much detail he provided and just like how stoked he was on the program. And he literally said, he was like, I went from being a scared wimp to like a confident gym goer who's like willing to walk right up to the free weights and not even think twice about it. And I'm like, dude, hell yeah. Like, because that's not even like, you talk about results, like results do matter. But that guy's good for the rest of his life in the gym.
Because you've taught him something that now like no one can take that away from him.
It's not all about like, oh, I lost 20 pounds from Marshall Fitness. It's like, I now know all the stuff I need to know in order to continue to do this for years to come.
And that's honestly the biggest thing, right? Because it's not so much about like results and being able to see your abs and stuff. That's awesome. Like,
it's
we
great.
want that. But it's setting yourself up for life.
Yeah. I think people have said to me too, like, well, don't you become like obsolete? And like, Yeah, a little bit. But that's kind of just how it goes, you know. Like I don't want to set someone up to where I'm like, but by the way, I didn't teach you this part, so you got to stay on.
Exactly.
Now there are people that maybe like they know all they need, like Dan, for example. Like he knows what he needs to do, but by working with me, it holds him accountable. He doesn't want to have to think about it for himself. So you know, he still has a program. He still knows. Like I mean, he had a kid. He has his first kid, and I like went and remade all his workouts so they were way shorter and more manageable. You know, and like when you're thinking about like programming for yourself is so hard. I used to program for myself, and I'm like, I don't really know if this is doing it right. Yeah. I mean, I'm a trainer. I've done it for years. I know it's right, but there's just that little bit in your head where I'm like, when someone else gives you something, you're gonna follow it. You know, if you trust that person, you're gonna follow it to a T and be like, they made this, they put in the time, I'm gonna do it.
But if it's for yourself, you're like,
it's
like
different.
There's like this doubt that's like creeps in, and you
there's
just gotta...
something to someone else giving you a program, and like it just works better.
Oh, I'm for sure. Whether you were previously an athlete or and you need that structure again, because if that's what you need, then to get back into shape,
that's
and
what it is, right? Yeah.
Sign up for Marshall Fitness, link in the description. But then you also, if you need that structure, and you've never gone to the gym before, and maybe you just need that part of your life automated, because like you said, so Dan, your client, he's had his first kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's gonna be another one of my questions. Like, do you have people who have like families that like train with you?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And you just two of them, right? You have your client from Iceland, and you have Dan, right?
Yeah, those two currently. But then I have a mom of 3. Another mom of 3, or 2 maybe. Let me see who else. Yeah, another mom, 2. Like there's a bunch of people with kids and stuff, and
that's amazing.
A lot of the time, it doesn't change anything. Like they're still in the gym, 4 days a week for an hour. But I did have a mom who she was a mom already of a toddler, and she worked from home. So it was hard for her she couldn't leave the house because she was with the kid all day. And so what I did was I made 2 separate workouts. So basically she had 8 workouts, but each one was 20 minutes. So she could do one in the morning and then one later in the day. And she did that every day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, because she could not get an hour. So I just kind of like finagled it to where it was like, okay, you've got this set that's 20 minutes, this set's 20 minutes. Now you're getting a full workout in, but you just have to kind of like, sidestep it a little bit. Yeah. And so, but then she got pregnant, was going to have her second kid. And so then I was like, okay, now we've got to change this again to where, as time went on, I'm like, we're not doing anything. You're not doing push-ups anymore.
Right.
Because I'm not going to risk, I don't know, you slip, then you fall, so there's, depending on the circumstance, there's always a way to adjust things to make it fit better to the person. And that is really where I provide the value when it's made for the person 100%. But then also in the conversations that we have too, that's the thing that's the hardest to explain to people when I'm on the call with them and I'm talking about the program. I'm like, all this stuff is great. The program's great, nutrition's great, all that's great. But like the real work is done in the conversations that we have, and I can't tell you what those are going to be just yet.
Yeah, because they're going to be unique to you, and it's going to be unique
and they're going to come up when they come up.
Correct. Yeah. It was funny is I have a personal trainer myself.
Right.
And his name's Greg. And Greg, what's funny is that, to my knowledge, actually I have to ask him this, but to my knowledge, he actually has a good amount of his clients are already in college sports. So he's a wrestling coach at Columbia University.
Oh, yeah, you told me that. Okay.
Yeah. And so a lot of his clients, he has clients that aren't doing any sports, but he has clients that are currently wrestling. Mm-hmm. So what I think it's interesting. It's like kind of he's fulfilling like one period of these people's lives, and then you're kind of like filling in this other period like after all that. So I think it's really cool that you guys.
The interesting thing about that too, the comparison is that when you're working with a high level athlete as a trainer, like it's hard to move the needle 1% with someone like that, someone that's at that high of a level. Mm-hmm. And so that can be frustrating, especially depending on the client, because if there's someone that's hyper aware of that and they're like always looking for like the fruits of their labor, and maybe it's not like the most like prevalent, they're going to be like, oh, I'm doing all this work. I mean, athletes, when training for their sport, they're not really ever going to come to you and be like, I'm doing all this work and it's for nothing, because they've got a sport.
They got sport, right? And they might see the results
on the field.
Right,
yeah. But then with, like you call it general population, those people don't need to do that much stuff differently to see 50% changes. You know, like if you just go to the gym 4 days a week and eat 80-20, you're going to feel a lot better. I mean, depending on your starting point, for sure. Like, I mean, if you're already kind of doing that, then like, you know, for someone like myself, like I've already got a lot of it figured out. So I would have to do a lot of stuff and really refine things to see 5%. Like that's a ton.
I see what you're saying, because it's like you're already starting from quote unquote zero.
Right.
So any movement of the needle from their perspective is going to be a lot.
Yeah. Starting from zero, I mean, you can jump to 80% very quickly.
Very quickly. Newbie gains, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you're with athletes, it might be different because they've already been working out, so to speak.
Yeah.
So any movement of the needle from their perspective is going to be, oh, well, I mean, it was only like 1 or 2%.
Yeah,
so you know what I mean? Like,
which matters at that level, but
yeah.
It's not going to be perceived the same way as someone going from like
Gem Pop might perceive that as like he didn't get like more muscular. Well, that wasn't the point of that.
Exactly.
It was just like Greg. I've talked to Greg about like because I actually shot a podcast with him, and he's talked about like how he will have his athletes train specific exercises, but it's not necessarily for aesthetics, and it's for performance.
Oh, 100%.
But I can't visualize, like, it's not like abs. Like, I can't visualize performance for you unless I sit you down in front of a wrestling match and you're going to watch the match, and then you saw him take down that person, like, where that double leg was much more smoother than it was like a year ago because of a year's worth of work of, like, you know, deadlifting or in a specific way.
Yeah. Strength and conditioning is tough, too, with sports because certain coaches, like head coach, I mean, not speaking to any specific sport, but head coaches sometimes are not, I don't want to say proponents of strength and conditioning, but they just, because it's one of those things where, like, if you're doing strength and conditioning, it's injury prevention. You know, say a player gets injured, and now the head coach is going to the strength and conditioning coach, and I'm like, well, we're doing all this injury prevention. Why didn't it prevent the injury? Right. But then if that injury doesn't happen and, you know, they're like, oh, well, no one's getting injured, so what does it matter? You know, like there's like it's like from both sides. Like you really can't win.
You can't win.
No, yeah, and so it's tough.
You're doing your job, then it's like it's almost like you're not there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, what are we doing this for? Like, I mean,
yeah,
you know.
And then if they're getting injured, then your head's on the chopping block.
Exactly.
And it's like, why are they getting injured? Like,
that's a tough thing, but that's different than what I do for sure.
Have you ever had to coach any of your former athlete clients with specific movements from their training? Because certain sports have, especially with like combat sports, especially, but I'm sure they can relate in some respects to soccer. There are going to be movements to that specific sport that you have to train for, and that might mean you need to do certain exercises. So I'm curious, like, for athletes now, they've come out of college, do you ever have to coach them in those certain movements? If they're like, hey, listen, like, I want to get back into the game, not professionally, but like maybe at a hobbyist level? Not
anything like sport specific particularly. I did have a golf program for a bit.
Really?
Yeah, and the reason I still have it, but the reason that I did it was because a local golf course reached out to me. It was at Grandview actually, and it's in Braddock, I think technically. They reached out to me to advertise in their course guide, and at the time I was like, you know, it was just one of those things. It's just like a, you know, opportunity to say yes, and so I did it. But then I was like, well, if these people are golfers coming to me, I should have something specific to golf. So then I went and made a program designed for golf, just like a lot of rotational stuff, power building. And my ad said something about like out driving your friends, because I was trying to appeal to like, you know, the retired old dudes that are like wanting to get like, you know, shave a few strokes off or whatever. Didn't work at all. Like I only had one person maybe do that program. And that guy, he was actually a classmate of mine, went to my high school. He did really well. But beyond that, there's nothing else that no one ever has wanted to be like, is like general population. And they're like, I want to get back to playing sports. I want to train more specifically for sports, because really with that, I mean, if you're fit still, like I don't train sports specific at all. Okay. But I still play soccer. And I still got it. I'm not going to lie. But I did have a guy, not sports specific, but a coach from, he was a former college soccer player from New York. He, as a result of my program, wanted to deadlift 600 pounds. That was his goal. That was his goal.
Right.
Yeah. And he sent me videos of him deadlifting every week. And I'd be like, all right, well, your knee caved here a little bit. I would throw in some clamshells, with the band, and then like foot rotated a little bit. He deadlifted 620 at the end of his program.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think people ask that question a lot of like, well, what about my form? What if my form is bad? And, there's a demo video for every movement that they do. But I always tell people, like, I'm a movement specialist. I can see that shit. Like, if I'm looking at someone moving, I know what's going on, how to fix it. I love when people send me videos. People don't take advantage of it enough, but there's always an option for people. If they're concerned about their form, take a video, send it to me. I'll get you feedback and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that in-person training, that's what they think they're missing with online training.
Well, I mean, it's online training, but the medium is such that, I mean, you have a phone, right? You can just send the video. And
I mean, there's no rule. Like, I mean, there's no rules, but there's no like.
Don't send me. Don't send Will. I mean, unless you're open to it. Send Will like deadlifting videos at 2 a.m. Like.
Well, don't do it at 2 a.m. I mean, if that's when like you remember to do it, fine. I'm not going to answer. But no, I mean, there's a way to make everything happen,
right? Because
it's just it's all very open ended. Like, there is a structure, but then I tell everybody, if there's something missing, let me know. I'll find it. I'll get it to you. Whatever it needs to be. Like, we'll figure it out. I mean, I've gone as far to get on calls with people every week. I mean, I don't advertise that, but like, if someone needs the support like that, and that's what's gonna get them there, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's really whatever we need to do to make someone successful. Like, we'll make it happen.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So, I think what's interesting is that when we're looking at like college versus getting out of college, I know there's probably habits that you pick up in college that aren't probably, there's some good and bad habits that you pick up in college.
Sure.
Like the binge drinking and like the getting to sleep at like 2 a.m.
I didn't do too much of that. I did some, but not too much.
So, but you might pick those up in college. But when you leave college, what have you found that are some habits that your clients, whether they be athletes or not, they then pick up after they get out of college?
That's a good question.
That impede their progress.
Oh, well, impede their progress. It's usually eating habits are pretty bad. Drinking too is just a major obstacle. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't drink, because I do. I don't do it as much as I used to. Especially this year, I've probably done it the least amount. Because with my personal training, like, it's all I ever want to do. And if I, have a long weekend and go in on Monday and lift, I'm gonna feel it and I'm gonna be mad, like at myself.
I feel it at 24. It's
dude, I'm 29.
Because your next day is just shot.
Yeah, it's a wrap. You can't perform the way you want to. Working out, but from any perspective, really. But I think, and I guess it depends on the person, but drinking is one of those things that is just so counterproductive. And there's a balance to it for sure, but there's never going to be a way that you could like drink a moderate amount and still be the best you can be from a fitness perspective.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So and I don't tell anybody that they need to stop completely. Like, I get it. Like, it's so ingrained in society. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's everywhere. Now we've got like the NA movement that's like non-alcoholic options are like becoming way more popular, which is great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Also, I think the American Cancer Society has been pretty clear that I think any amount of alcohol is going to predispose you to cancer. So that's also
right. That's a whole other conversation. You want to get into that because that's a level 1 carcinogen, right? But then we're worried about canola oil, those types of things.
Yeah, like seed oils.
That's another conversation that, we don't need to get into that, but those are the things, like, people are worried about the wrong stuff.
Mm-hmm. Whereas it's like, you're worried about like canola oil and, all these seed oils. When I'm like, dude, but like you drank you went on an all-nighter like last night. Like,
right.
I'm
so happy to hear you say that. Yeah, and I think even with nutrition too by itself, like obviously the stuff that is high in the seed oils is already the stuff that's already processed. So we know that processed foods
is bad for us.
Are not conducive to health, right? And so then to now narrow it down to like, oh, seed oils are the problem. Well, like if you just avoid processed foods the majority of the time, you've already cut out that same issue. So chill out.
Yeah, the way I like to analogize it is, what are the biggest things you can, the biggest sledgehammer you can take to like this thing that's going to make the biggest impact? And arguably it is diet, but like when we talk about seed oils and stuff, like, yeah, I mean, it's not good, but it's like you're taking a needle from a very large haystack.
Yeah.
Whereas if you'd fixed your sleep, and I'm saying this for myself, like I've been trying to fix my sleep.
No,
personally,
yeah, absolutely.
And I've noticed that on days where I just don't get my 70
Those are
hours.
the big things, though. You're right. Like,
yeah. So it's sleep, it's diet, and it's
movement.
It's movement, and it's. I don't think I'm saying anything like controversial or anything.
No, I don't think so either. But that's the thing.
I'm pretty sure this is widely known.
You would think that, but then
any doctor is going to tell you this,
right? And that's the thing is like it might seem very straightforward. It seems simple, but I mean, you go on Instagram and there's someone in a grocery store yelling to the camera about, I don't know, Cliff Bars.
Just don't eat the Cliff Bar. I'm like, yeah, but you just don't.
Like, it's just and that's the reason that people are so confused, because there's these idiots just, just like monetizing attention and fear to get people to be like, oh, well, oatmeal's bad for you now, so I can't eat that. And I'm like, dude, I mean, if you're drinking your face off every weekend, I probably wouldn't be worried about like
oatmeal or these cookies or, I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's so many other big rocks that you can accomplish first, and like, let's go there. And then if you're still having issues, then maybe we branch out into some other things and see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the big thing with like the whole optimization thing. Like, I'm not saying it's bad to optimize. In my opinion, I'm not saying that it's bad to optimize, but
yeah,
I think that, like we just said, just you take the biggest sledgehammers and you destroy the biggest rocks in your life.
Yeah.
That's going to move the needle.
More. Right. It's the same thing we were just saying.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
exactly. That's going to move the needle more than like worrying about like canola oils and stuff like that. I mean, it's funny. Like, it's become a meme now. Like, my brother and I now have like a thing where like, we'll go into the grocery store and I'm like, hey, like, look at this. And he's like, give me the ingredients. And he's like, oh, it's freaking sunflower seed oil. He's like, don't buy it.
Dude, everything's like that. Everything's a chemical. Everyone's now like, oh, there's chemicals in that. It's like, well, everything broken down to the furthest amount is a chemical. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's just not something that I'm concerned with personally. And I don't think if you really want to go on a health journey that you need to be that concerned about it. If you want to, like, again, if you got the big rocks figured out and you want to go really, really narrow,
then do it. Then fine.
Optimization, like you said, like, if you really want to do that, then go ahead. But your life's probably going to suck because it's not going to be that fun. You're cutting out all the fun shit. I ate a whole pizza last night, dude. I'm not like that. To me, that's a part of it. Like, it's why I lift as hard as I do during the week. I eat.
Yeah. So I can eat the pizza.
Yeah, absolutely. I eat the same thing. I'm meal prepped Monday through Friday. Oh. Friday night, I'm chilling. Might eat an edible. Eating a pizza, dude. That's what I'm doing. Like, and that's balance right there.
You heard it here first, guys. You get your abs, get yourself in shape so you could be eating edibles late at night like the rest of us.
I got no problem with it. It is what it is, man. It's
That's hilarious. Yeah, or that meat missile you got from Costco. That
meat missile, dude. That thing was so worth it. I just finished the whole thing like 2 days ago.
Oh my god! Wait, like just now?
Yeah.
When did you buy it?
Oh, I don't know. When I make that video, it was it was probably 4 weeks ago, maybe more. I froze it all. Like, I divided it into like 10 1-pound bags, and then I froze it all.
Yeah, I gotta get Costco membership now.
Costco, it's so worth it. So worth it. It was like $40. $40 for 10 pounds of ground beef. That was like 93.7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would do it.
So when we're looking at mindset too, is there any things that they take away from college that like they keep when they're training with you, or have you noticed like some things about like you get like I think an example of this that I'm imagining is you could thinking that you can get away with these eating habits, or you can get away with the poor sleep. Like, it's fine, bro. I'll just sleep it off. I'm like, no, but you're 25 or 27 now. It's just you're still in your 20s, but you're getting older. And God forbid, like in your 30s, and that your body doesn't just work the same way.
It's harder, to keep up with it as you get older. But I think one of the best, most often the people that played any sport at a high level are very punctual, and then they over communicate to the point where, it's like maybe not over communicate, but they're just like on.
They're not telling you their bowel movements every day.
No, I don't mean like that. But I mean, just like if they're like, for example, if we have a call
had a good one at 2:00. I don't need to do that.
That would be wild. But no one's done that. If we have a call scheduled or something and they miss it, they're like on top of it right away. Like, I can't make this. Okay. And like that is something that I was that person anyway. But in college, it was very kind of like driven into our heads of like, being punctual, being courteous to other people's time, being respectful of other people's time. That's good. Because team meetings, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late, you have to, if you can't make something, if you're going to be late to something, like you have to communicate that, meeting with the coach in the office, like it's, there's a reason that, major companies and businesses, like they go to universities in their athletics department to find, new employees. I'm a part of, Pitt's life skills program, where it's like they mentor athletes. I don't have a mentee right now, cause I don't have anyone that match with me, but they do events, all the time. And we'll do like a networking event where they invite all these companies in, and, all the athletes are there. They can come and network with, business owners and stuff. And it was crazy cause they had a TV just like that up, with all the businesses listed. And it was like Dick's Sporting Goods, GNC, UPMC, and then it said Marshall Fitness LLC. And I was like, that's insane. But to your point, like it's, I think athletes, not everybody figures it out like during college. Like there's definitely some teammates that I had that could not figure out how to set an alarm, to be up for a workout.
Oh, wow.
They figured it out eventually.
Okay,
but
good,
like, it was like that, there's that learning curve.
Well, I think it goes to show like just how inbuilt the structure you guys have into your lives at that time of your lives.
Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So you have that structure when you're there, and that's great because it allows you to perform. Yeah. But then when you get out, and you have to create that, like, I think you're a special case because you kind of, you were trying to go pro to begin with. So that structure is kind of still there. And then coaching helped you keep that alive too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the difference between like a college soccer player and a pro soccer player, like even if I'm comparing between the Riverhounds and say Pitt, like, Pitt, the structure is there. It's created. You have a schedule, you have a program, like you have these things you have to do every day. You have to be in the training room. You have to be in the locker room by a certain period of time. Like, all that stuff. Right. Now with the Hounds, it was just, these guys are pros, and the difference between the pros and guys in college is like the pros don't need all that structure to still show up and just do their job. There's a time you have to be in the locker room, but if you want to stay for treatment, like that's on you. Like it's your, individual needs. And then the rest of the day, like they're not going to class. They're not going to like mandatory study hall like that. They've done their job for the day. That's it. So what they need to do, does that mean that they're going home and doing, rehab exercises or more recovery or something, or eating properly? Like that's on them. No one else is overseeing that. Like their meals aren't provided, or their recovery is not provided like it is in college. Right. And that's a big indicator of guys who can become pros, is like, can they provide the structure for themselves? Yeah
That's a big one. So let's actually transition to the business side of things, because I think a lot of people will be interested about how you, like, what were the actions that you say were the biggest bang for your buck, the ones that led you to success for your online fitness business?
I think mentorship's one of the best things you can do. And I wouldn't necessarily, now, like, you can learn anything online for free, right? Like, Alex Hormozy, Hormozy?
I love Alex Hormozy.
Right. He's one of the, like, he's the guy that's putting out value for free
That's actually one of his things. He's like,
it is his thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about podcasts too. He was doing podcasts every week, I think, for 6 years before he broke the top 10 on Apple podcasts, I'm pretty sure. But once you figure out your thing and then you know for sure you want to do it, just meeting with people that have done it before, I mean, it's just going to accelerate the path by a lot. And that's, I mean, I've been with a mentorship now for 2 years straight. I did it prior, and I think it was 2021. I did like the second level. I did the first level in 2020. And I'm surrounded by online coaches that are all at different levels. I mean, there's people that make $500,000 a year online coaching and simplified their business. There's people that are just starting. There's people that are, around where I'm at. And, we have like, there's sales training, marketing training. I mean, it's just everything is included.
Yeah.
And it also just holds you accountable too, because like once you're investing in yourself, once you're putting that energy out there of like, I am going to, make this concrete decision to invest in myself, in the weirdest way, shit comes back to you. I don't know how to explain it, but like when I decided that I was signing up for this mentorship, like, I mean, it wasn't like, it's not cheap, like we're talking like, I'll just say thousands, and that's not even the best way to describe it. I can't explain it, but with that next month was the biggest month I'd ever had sales wise.
Wow.
Don't know how. I just started, but it was like, I'm putting this out there and then it just came right back. It was weird. I don't know.
It's like karma in a sense.
I think so. I think there's something there. And then the other part of it too is just like wanting the best for people. Like if you generally want to see people succeed and look at it as I'm helping, if you can help as many people as possible, the money's going to come your way.
Yeah.
But if you look at it the other way, where you're just trying to make as much money as you can, I don't really care what happens to the people, you're not going to make it.
It's about providing as much value as possible. Like this is the part where it's like without the expectation of something coming.
The expectation, exactly.
Yeah, without the expectation of anything in return. You provide as much value as you can because you want to lift other people up. You want to have other people succeed.
Yeah.
And you have to be outcome independent. Like if they return it, great. If they don't, then also great because you're still putting out value.
Right.
I think what's interesting is that my mentor myself has also been a great help for me, and something he's always taught me is that it's not even sometimes because like you said, you could learn anything for free technically, but what a mentor does is that they are going to tell you the pieces of information that are actually relevant.
Yeah, like what you're spending too much time on.
What are you spending too much time? Or is like, even like, for example, my mentor is a real estate attorney.
Okay.
So I was asking him questions about like, hey, like if I wanted to start doing like rentals in the near future, or maybe
I have some experience with that too, by the way.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. All right. Yeah. And another mentor to ask. Yeah. But I asked him like if I wanted to do like house hacking, like what's the best way to do that? And he's like, well, if you're going to do this, you could do this, but it's not going to get the most bang for your buck, and it's not going to be the best for your situation.
Right.
But if you do it this way, it's much smarter, it's easier, and for your situation, it's going to work out much better.
And he knows that because someone either told him, like mentored him, or he made the mistakes. Like if you go to the people that have made the mistakes, that's how you avoid the mistakes.
Mm-hmm. You learn from it's learning from your mistakes, but then the next level, the highest level, is learning from other people's mistakes.
Right.
And in a perfect world, the people who've you find the people who've made the mistakes, and if you show that you're willing to learn, you're humble,
or you just go mess it up yourself.
But that's painful, and
it is. You'd rather avoid it, but sometimes it's unavoidable.
Dude, it's fair enough, man.
Yeah.
Any advice to people who want to start an online fitness training program? Like, what would you recommend that they do to start off with?
I think the biggest thing is if you really want to do it, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, where people like start things and then don't follow through, is like just take some imperfect action is really what it comes down to. I think people, when they're starting a business or a podcast or anything, they want it to be perfect before they can start, or get fit before they can get fit.
Yeah.
Right? With an online training business, it's not, the barrier for entry is like nothing. Like you could do it. I mean, you could, depending on who you, like there's some people like a friend of mine who was a trainer at the gym that I used to work at. We actually took the personal trainer exam together. I mean, she has a big following on Instagram, like 17,000. I'm like, if you just announced that you were going to train people online, you could get 20 clients immediately. Like, now, if you're not like social media present, it's going to take some time to build that up. But there are people out there that already have the tools to have like that established persona on social media. And because I mean, that's just the easiest way to go about it now, because it's free. You know, like it's not like you're paying for advertisements in a newspaper or like buying billboards. Like you can literally go and market yourself for free on Instagram right now.
Doesn't take any, like,
For
there's no startup cost.
Nothing. Right. And so it's just a matter of doing it, deciding you're going to do it, commit to it, just take some action, and just don't give a shit about what anybody else says.
Yeah, I would agree. The only thing I would add in there is I think, and it's a fine line.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to use preparation as a procrastination tool.
Sure.
But
right.
I think what I would say is that do some work and have some kind of game plan before you have.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, you definitely have to have some idea of what you're getting into. Yeah. But yeah, to your point, it is a fine line. I think a lot of people wait until if you got 90% ready, you're good.
Yeah, you're better off. Absolutely. You're better off.
Figure out the other 10% later.
Correct.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're just firing from the hip at zero and don't even know what you're going to do, maybe don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Like, get certified, get insurance. That matters a lot. I'm not saying I've ever had an issue, but, you know, you've got to have your bases covered. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I mean, just start talking to people, you know, like it doesn't matter if someone is a potential client or not. Like they could know people that are potential clients. You know, I went on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, like the hosts weren't potential clients, but I'm like, you know, 3 years down the road, they might run into somebody that's looking for a trainer, and then they're going to think of me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so it's, I mean, you got to be willing to put yourself out there too, which in the beginning I found very difficult. And it's funny because I've always been told that I have the personality for it, but it's one of those things like we talked about before where I'm like, okay, well, like people might say that, but I'm not perceiving myself as that person.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to meet this like delta to like get to that point.
It's really weird. My senior exit interview for high school, the guy, I can't remember his name exactly, but he was, I mean, this is back in East Allegheny. He told me he wrote it in like the rubric. He was like, we're going to see this guy on TV one day. And at the time, I'm like, that's so crazy for me to hear because I'm not thinking about myself in that way at all. Mm-hmm. And now after just doing it, like, I mean, being on camera is a muscle you have to flex. But there's always, I think, when people start posting, they're thinking about one person and what that one person's going to think.
Yes. Versus, dude, just post a meme, post it.
Yeah,
like, it's fine.
And now, like, I'm just like, I don't give a shit about what anyone. I mean, there's certain people where you should listen to what they say, right? You should hear them out.
There's some nuance. Like, if you're a physician, I think there was actually a program that I did. It was like a networking program that I enrolled in, and one of the things they talk about when using social media is like obviously have some wherewithal. Like if you know you're a physician or a lawyer, or like you're in a field where you have to be careful about what you post online. Sure. That's something different. But if you're worried about like what some family member is going to think or something, like
that's the toughest one. I think for a lot of people.
Yeah, because we do care about a family.
Yeah, I mean, my family's been supportive of me, you know, always. But I think even if they weren't, I would still.
Well, it's a hump you have to get over because if that person's opinion is so strong that that it's holding you back from doing the things that you need to be doing or that will push the needle.
Right.
And it's ultimately, I think that you have to get to a point where it's not that you're not going to not consider other people's opinions, but it's yours is the opinion that needs to.
I mean, it's your life.
Yeah, it's your life. Yeah. So like, if you're gonna worship at the altar of people's like opinions that don't matter, then you're not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a long road.
Yeah, and that's easier said than done.
It is. I mean, I've only had a couple instances where I've had like something hit on Instagram or something where like random people are just like shitting on me. And when it first happens, it's like, it's not an easy thing to deal with. But then over time, you start to realize like none of this matters. Like Instagram doesn't matter.
No.
Is it helpful for certain things? Yeah. Like, but when it really comes down to it, like that switch could flip one day and it all disappears. And then what is it? Who cares anymore?
Exactly. We're on a rock that's hurtling through space.
Exactly.
No one cares.
Yeah,
we had a president that was we elected him twice and he He hooked up with a porn star while his wife was pregnant, and he still made him president. Like, guys, nobody cares.
Nothing matters. Yeah, nothing matters and everything matters at the same time.
But speaking of posting things online, so you co-host a podcast.
I do.
What's the name of the podcast?
The Above Average Podcast.
Above Average Podcast. So I'm curious, like, why did you name it the Above Average Podcast?
That's a good question. Let me think. So the way that the podcast started was, it was actually like 2 years ago now. There was I actually didn't know him yet. There was a guy that reached out to me from my hometown, Mark. Shout out to Mark. He asked me about personal training and stuff, and I pitched him the whole program. Just didn't. He wasn't like in a place where he could do it. Gave him some nutrition advice. He went and lost 35 pounds. Crushed it. And so then after that, he came to me. He was like, "Would you want to start a YouTube channel?" And I was like, I can't pay you, but if he was like, "Oh no, I used to stream. I know my way around a camera. I know about posting all this different stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. If you just want to give it a go and see how it goes." So then from there, he was like, "I want to start a podcast." And I was like, "I don't know if I really want to go that route because I know how much work podcasting is, and the equipment's very expensive. I mean, look at where we're at right now, right?"
Deceptively a lot of work that goes into this.
Tons of work. And so then we started doing it. And I think the above average thing came from, there was this saying me and my brother used to say to each other. We would go to the field and we'd be running and doing sprints or something, and one of us would want to quit early and the other would say, "Have fun being average." And that's kind of where it came from, I think. And the idea was that I'm speaking for Mark now. This is the way he explained it, but I was the above average person, and Mark was the person trying to become above average, basically. And that was how we reasoned the name. And we did a couple episodes. We did a few episodes in my high school football locker room, in the field house, because they just gave us access to the weight room and it just worked out.
Nice.
But then Mark got hired, promoted to within Walmart. He moved into Arkansas because that's where their corporate headquarters is. Yeah. So then that was when Ethan, my current co-host, came in the mix. And it's really grown a lot since then. I mean, we've done, I think we're at 25, 26, 27 episodes or something like that.
That's awesome.
We have a permanent studio now. It's been cool. It's growing slowly, but it's getting there.
And when did you start it?
Initially, the first inception of it was in 2020, I think 2022.
Okay.
Because it was before I went to Portugal. Because we actually recorded an episode when I was in Portugal,
nice.
Via Zoom, and we didn't hit record.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh,
we talked for an hour and 15 minutes. I was in my Airbnb kitchen, and Mark texted me after and was like, "Yeah, I didn't hit record."
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it was okay. But, it was that next year. I think me and Ethan started in December of 23 when we started back up. Because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I didn't know if I was going to keep it going. I was like, I like doing it. It's fun to do. And I don't think about it as much. And then when we go have a recording day, I'm like, "Oh shit, we're getting back in the stew today, dude." It's a good time. So I'm glad we're doing it. It's been good. I did get a client from one of our episodes,
nice.
Believe it or not. Yeah, that happened episode 3. Someone
only 3 episodes in.
Yeah, the new season. Yeah, someone knew the guest and then followed me and then was like, "Oh, I'm interested in personal training," and became a client for 6 months, and she crushed it, and then now she's off on her own.
There you go, man. I'm curious, how do you select your guests? Do you reach out on Instagram?
Yeah, we usually reach out on, it is mostly from Instagram, actually. It's interesting. I found that we kind of have to become, I don't want to say selective, but now I'm kind of making it a point to get to know people more before we, kind of how we did, we talked for
we connected
an hour,
first. Yeah.
And I'm not saying we've had any bad guests, but I've just come to realize that, what people are on social media, they might not be like that on a podcast episode.
Yeah, there's a saying that I like. It's by this guy called Michael Sartain.
Right.
And so what his saying is, social media is fake, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because if you're making money from social media, from a business, he's like, social media is fake, and I'm okay with that because the money is real, so to speak.
Sure.
And what this just goes to show is, if you remember, it's a highlight reel. That is what is being put out there.
Yeah.
And you actually have to do some work actually to show some authenticity, so to speak.
You do. And that's, I think a podcast is the way to do that, because there's no way you're going to get someone for an hour or 2 hours and they're not going to be able to like, you're not going to get a good idea of who they are.
Yeah.
You know, you can't hold that. You can't keep up the facade for that long.
For like a 2 hour, like how long have we gone? Like 2 hours now? Like,
I don't know. What time is it, man? Holy shit. Yeah, it has been almost 2 hours.
Time flies, man.
Yeah,
Time flies when you're on the podcast.
That's incredible.
But yeah, man. What's been your most interesting guest or like topic that you've talked about so far that you've had on?
So we have an interesting like overlap with just our backgrounds. Like Ethan was in the military. He was in the Army for 10 years. He was a Division II diver in college.
Wow.
And then you have myself with fitness and soccer and business. And I mean, Ethan's also has like entrepreneurial spirit. That's like our tagline is entrepreneurial minded former athletes.
Nice.
So, I mean, we've had a bunch of different people. I mean, we had, so John Bush, he's the current goalkeeper coach for the Riverhounds. He was an MLS goalkeeper for 15 years or something. He was a guy that I used to watch highlight videos of when I was in middle school. And now I had him on my podcast. I have his number. I mean, we're friends now. Yeah. It's weird just, to say that I know him that well. He came on, we had, Tanner Cortat. He's from Pittsburgh. He was on The Bachelorette.
Oh, wow.
He was also on Bachelor in Paradise. I know him, too. We used to coach at the gym together back in 2019, but...
Yinzers represent. Let's go.
Yeah, right. I mean, we got him. But he came on, and I mean, he's kind of like, grown in his own way in terms of fame and stuff, and like just all the stuff he's doing. He's also into fitness. He's a fitness instructor himself, so I mean, that one's been really cool. We had Michelle Para, she's the owner of Indigo Tonics. It's like a functional mushroom company. So they're selling like lion's mane tinctures, like stuff for focus, sleep, immunity.
That's fantastic.
But she also had so much interesting stuff to say about like psychedelics and just like where all that's going.
Okay. I'll have to watch that.
We did not dive in as much as I wanted to, but she was just so knowledgeable about everything related to that. And that's something that's, was on the fringe of just like awareness and perception for a lot of people for so long, and now is becoming almost mainstream with all these, like there's like I think it was a Johns Hopkins study of people that were like with terminal cancer, and they were giving them psychedelics and their fear of death was completely disappearing.
Huh.
This is a topic that I've been interested in for a long time. I've read a lot of books about it, but to have her on as someone that we didn't even know and then come in and just kind of like, almost, I don't want to say double down, but just like, stuff that I already was aware of, and then her to come in just completely unprompted.
Yeah,
you
like, can unpack a lot more things. You can go into a deeper level. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the joy of having people on a podcast. Like when we talk about like finding mentors. That's the biggest thing for me, like doing a podcast like this. Obviously like for like, building a brand and stuff is fun, and,
sure.
and I want to also use this as something I can maybe show a medical school admissions committee too. It's like,
definitely.
hey, like I built a community, so to speak. But for me personally, the joy has been I actually get to talk to people who are more knowledgeable about stuff that I'm not. And
right.
You can get a little mentorship session in a sense.
You can learn so much shit from just a podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone has a story. Everyone likes to talk about themselves. Like I'm Exhibit A right here, sitting here talking about myself for 2 hours, but I mean, everyone has such different experiences. And like, I mean, I've learned so much stuff from just having guests on the podcast. Like I learned about skincare a couple weeks ago for dudes. And I'm like, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. I think I saw that episode a little bit. I have to finish it though. It was the PA, Shannon.
Yeah. We've dropped the reels. The full episode comes out on Wednesday.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then one of my other favorite episodes was actually met her in person just very recently. Hannah.
Hannah Phillips. Yeah.
Hannah Phillips. Yeah. Very very cool person. Shout out to Hannah, by the way.
Oh, she's incredibly talented.
Yeah. Her. She's an artist as well, and then
art
she's also
is insane. And then her show.
Flirt was pretty funny.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I know Manny actually. He played with my brother soccer.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, it's such a small world.
I know. When I met Hannah, we just kind of started talking. I was like, oh, I know Manny Burton. She was like, Manny Burton's my best friend. And I'm like, oh, he was teammates with my brother. I'm like, what are the odds of this? It's just...
When you're selecting guests, do they have to be like above average in a certain way to fit the tagline?
Here's the funny thing about that. The funny thing about that is like everyone is above average in their own way, but it's just a matter of like how, right?
How, right.
I think to me, I've thought about this as like people see above average and then they think, oh, well, I wasn't invited on the podcast. Am I not above average? It's like, no, that's not the idea. But what above average means to me is just trying, like putting in effort where you don't need to put in effort, like creating a podcast from nothing, that's above average in my opinion. You didn't have to do it. You know, it might never go anywhere, but the fact that you're trying makes you above average.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of the time it's people that have done stuff that they didn't, like they could have just been complacent and been like, all right, I'm comfortable, I'm good. I don't have to, that's all I'm going to do.
But it's the extra.
Yeah. It's like
1 to 2%.
going against the grain and like trying, taking a risk and trying something that might not pay off. That in my mind is what it means to be above average.
Well, thank you. What's next for you, man? Where do you see? I know it's like a cliche interview question, and so far,
it's a
like,
hard
what do you
question.
see yourself in the next 5 years, so to speak? But like, what are like the next steps for the business? Do you have any specific goals there?
I knew you were going to ask me this, and I was thinking about this today before I left, and it was funny because I was thinking about if you would ask me that question 5 years ago from right now, I'm there. I'm where I would have wanted to
That's
be
good.
5 years ago.
That's good.
Yeah, which is kind of cool to say. But now I don't really know. I mean, my business mentors ask me this all the time. Like, what do you want out of your business? And like, I don't really know. Like, I want to grow it. I want to continue to grow. I would like to eventually maybe, have employees. Like, I have one employee right now, and my sister, who helps with some different things. But that's, I think, just like it's hard to specifically say, but growth is. I know it's general.
It's a general vague, but at the same time, I get it. I get it.
But I'd also like to find my way back to coaching in more of a involved role like I was before, and that's not something I ever thought I would say. But I miss game days, like with the Hounds and Saturday night, first team's playing, being out on the field during warm-ups as the stadium is filling up. It's just like energy like you don't get other places. And when I was with Pitt, it was the same way. I mean, there's like it's just fun, being a part of like a team that has a lot behind them, and it's hard because there's only a couple places you can do that as a soccer coach in Pittsburgh. Like if I moved to another state, if I was willing to move, I could find a job, but then I got to balance the business, at the same time. So that's a complicated equation. And then beyond that, I mean, just like continuing with CrossFit, like I enjoy that stuff so much because I just love seeing how good I can get, and just like, I mean, right now my goals are to snatch 225 and clean 300 by the spring.
Sweet.
And we have the CrossFit Open coming up, which is like the worldwide competition. Like that's how you make the games.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm going to make the games, but like it's,
we aim to try, right?
the whole community does it. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got to get in the top 1% of people to make the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
Last year I was in like the top 26%, which like, I mean, whatever. Like I'm just going to try and beat that this year, And so likely I don't think I'll ever do anything differently than CrossFit at this point. And because it's just so much fun, and I'm good at it. So if I can keep doing those things the next 5 years, I think I'll be fine. And maybe, continue with some real estate as well. I just bought a house in July.
Fantastic, dude. That's awesome.
I have another rental in Bloomfield, actually. And then I sold a rental in Florida in October.
There you go.
So there's things, I think there's room for other business ideas too. I don't know what they are, but that's another thing I don't like getting caught up on, is Hormozy that says this is like, you got to make the main thing the best main thing before you can disperse yourself.
Yeah, or put other irons into the fire. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think
agree with that.
if I can get to the point where, martial fitness has become that, then maybe there's something else that I dabble in. I don't know what that would be, but
You probably won't know that until
No, I mean, there's got to be some ideas going to hit me and then it's going to stick, Like they say, what is it with creativity? It's like I don't know, there's a book. What's the book by Rick Rubin? The Creative something. You know what I'm talking about?
I know Rick Rubin. I just don't know that specific book.
There's a book. He just released a book. It was like with creativity is like you have like a satellite in your brain and you got to like open it up, and then like ideas will come to you when it's the right time. And you got to be open to the ideas. And so I even with making content, like I can't force the stuff. If I force it, it's not as good. But if it just hits me and I'm like, yep, that's the thing, I go make it within 30 minutes and then I put it out. That's how it goes. So that's the way I feel with everything. Tattoos, it was the same way. Like, like I got the idea. I'm like, that works. I'm going to do it.
And if sometimes it's like in the dead of night, but it's just like, or
yeah,
like early
like
in
you're
the morning,
about to go to sleep. I've
inspiration
literally been
strikes you.
about to fall asleep and I grab my phone, grab the notes app, and I'm like writing
Gotta
it
get it down now.
Because if you don't do it, it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, this was awesome. Where can people find you?
Instagram is @WillMarshall_1. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. The name's the same, I'm pretty sure. And then my website is marshallfitnesstraining.com. Above Average Podcast is available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and what's the new one? I think it's Anchor now.
Anchor?
Yeah. I just found out people were listening to our podcast on that, so I didn't know it was a thing, but it's on there.
Let's freaking go, dude.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'll make sure to put all your socials, all the links in the description.
Awesome.
And I also want to give a big thank you to Studio Me for having us use this space, and hope to do this a lot again.
Yeah, incredible space here, so yeah.
That was beautiful. So, all right, guys, take care, and goodbye.